right, welcome to your next iPeer tutorial. I want to show you how to add students from the course homepage once you've already created a course. You'll notice here that it says our class size is 0 students. So we have to come down here and click Add Student. When we click that, we get a new form here, which is pretty straightforward. But there are a few things that you need to know when you're filling out this form. Now, the most important thing is to understand how usernames work in iPeer at UAlbany. All of your students have student numbers, but they also have what's called a net ID. And a net ID is 2 letters, usually the first initial of their first name and the first initial of their last name, followed by a series of numbers, usually 5 or 6 numbers, something like that. And you want to add those, or you want to use that net ID as their username, and only that net ID as their username. Do not use their student number, and do not use their email extension or anything like that. It needs to be their net ID. It's very, very important. The reason we do this is because UAlbany tries to provide a sense of consistency between various softwares that we use, and we can't do that unless all the students are recognized using the same information. And so we need you to make sure you're using the net ID and not some other bit of information. There's another tutorial about how to find this information in Blackboard if you don't already know how to do that. So feel free to check that out, and just make sure you get that information and use that information for their username. All right, so you simply enter their net ID as their username. You enter their first name. I'm going to create a student named Susan Smith, last name. Email, always use their at albany.edu email address. Here you'll see me add a little 1 on the end. That's just because I don't want this to accidentally get emailed to anyone. But whatever their email address is, followed by coming down here and clicking send email notification. That'll send them an email with their login information for iPeer and how to get logged in. Then you come down here and you click role, and here you have, there's 2 different types of roles, tutor and student. You can use tutor for TAs if you want. I don't recommend that. I usually recommend if people have have TAs, that they not add them as tutors, but rather that they ask the iPeer administrator to add them as an instructor that gets added to the course. But however you want to do it is up to you. The point just, of course, being make sure your students have student selected as their role. Now, here under student number, you'll notice that I've typed the net ID again. Now, this is up to you. You have the option. You can either select their actual student number to type as their student number in iPeer, or you can use their net ID. This will cause no problems for the student or for you in anything. It only becomes important a little bit later in this tutorial, and I'll point that out to you. I personally just find it easiest to use their net ID consistently because it always makes how the student is identified in iPeer exactly the same. But, however you want to do it is up to you. In any case, after entering their student number, you click Save, and you'll see here that a user was successfully created, and you'll see this long, complex password that has been emailed to them. They can change that for themselves once they log in. So if I come back up here to the course homepage, I can then come down and I can add another student using the same process. I'll enter a username. I'll make this student John Smith. So let's see, John Smith. Add an email at albany.edu. Send an email notification to them. Make sure they're a student. Student number netid. And then this time I'm going to click save and add another. You'll see it does exactly the same thing, but it just immediately gives me the chance to add another student. Now, obviously, you're going to say, well, this is going to be a pain if I have 60 students, especially if you have a lecture center class or something like that, where you might have 100 or 200 students, however many. So this method is really only good if you're adding maybe, you have a really small class, like maybe 8 to 10 students. But if you've got a large class, you'll want to come over here into the course homepage, and you'll want some method for being able to add more students all at once. So that's what this button, Import Students, is for. If I click Import Students, you'll see that I come up to this new page. And on this page, I find some instructions about how to be able to enter a particular type of Excel file, or import a particular type of Excel file called a .csv file. And in that file, I can have all of my students' information. And when I upload it, iPeer will automatically create accounts for all of those students. Let me show you how that works. If I come over here to the itlal website, itlal.org, and I hover over our services, go down to iPeer, you'll see I have here a iPeer login, and I also have this CSV file Excel template. If I click that, it will download, and then I can come down here and I can click the file, and it will open up for me. So let me walk you through the information that's in this file. This first column, A, you want to enter the net ID. Then B is the first name, C is the last name. In the D column, you want to enter the net ID again. In the E column, you want to enter the email address. And then in this final column, you want to enter a password. And it can be any password that you want to create, but you're setting the password instead of the system creating that long, complex password. You're creating a password for your students. I recommend you just create one password, give it to all of your students, because it's a lot faster that way. You can just tell them in class, use your net ID and your and this particular password, and you'll be able to log in. And then if they want to change their password at some point, they'll be able to do that. All right, so I'm going to create 4 students for our imaginary course in this file. And pretty soon, by the magic of editing software, you'll see them all there. I do want to show you one neat little trick, particularly that's useful for the password column though. Let me go ahead and show that to you now. So let's suppose that I've created these 4 students, and notice that the first 2 have a password typed in, but the second 2 do not. If I select the first 2 columns, and then I move the cursor until I get this little black cross underneath the bottom right-hand corner of the second row with a password, I can then click and drag down, and any cells that I highlight while I click and hold and drag down, when I let go, you'll see that the password simply pops up into, it auto-populates is what it's called, into those cells. So that's a quick way to add the same password for all of your students. All right, so the next thing I want to do is come up here and click File, and then when it comes up, I want to click Save. I want to go to Save As, though. I'm just going to put mine at the desktop right now. You can put yours wherever you want. The key, though, is that when I save it, I mean, give it whatever title you want, but then the type of file that you save it as, if you click this drop-down box, you'll see a big option like, or a long list of options like Excel workbook and so on and so forth. You want to select the CSV, delimited option. There's a couple of other CSV options down here as well. Ignore those. You want this one in particular, CSV, delimited. iPeer only reads these Excel files if they are saved in this format. If you don't save it in this format, then iPeer won't be able to read the file and you won't be able to import your students. So this part's really important. All right, so the next thing that I'll do is click save. And when I click save, you'll probably get asked these questions, and the point is just to affirm that you do indeed want to use this CSV file. Then I can close out of the file and I can come back into iPeer, and on this page I can import it. So I'll come down here to where it says choose file. I'll navigate to the location where I saved that file. I'll select it and then I'll select open. All right, so let me just find it, and there we go. So now I can see that it is, that the file is here, that it's going into my course, and then I have this little checkbox here where it says update class. Now what's important to understand about this box is if I check this box, then any students I've already added to the course will be deleted from the course. They'll be dropped from the course. And then the students in the Excel file that I'm importing will be added to the class. They'll enroll in the course. And if those students don't already have iPeer accounts, then their iPeer accounts will be created and they will also, of course, be enrolled in the course. Now, if I don't check this box, then any students that are already enrolled in the course will remain in the course. And if I have their information in the Excel file will simply update any information on that student. And it identifies any students already enrolled in the course with any students in the Excel file on the basis of the net ID. So here again, we see the importance of using the net ID when we create student accounts. All right, so if I don't select that box, I click import. Now I can see that the two students I had already created are here, and the two new students have been added. Then if I come back to the home page, I can select list students, and when I select list students, I now have this list of 4 students in the course.